We've had a question come in actually from Sleepwalker 8600. Thank you for your question, Sleepwalker, who wants to bring up Taka Nakagami. He says, poor old Taka, he just can't seem to get on the podium at all. And it did seem like, Nakagami was really showing some aggressive fight in the opening stages, where perhaps he hasn't previously done that so often, but ultimately it quite literally slid away from him. He still came home 17th in the end, ahead of Petrucci and Morbidelli. But, poor old Taka.
Well, there was only two people putting in those times at the end of the race, was Taka Nakagami and your race leader, Marquez. He was matching Marquez's times at one point late in the race, having remounted. So him being on the podium should have been an actual fact by the actual lap times that he was covering in the actual race, except he gave them all a head start by having to pick his bike up and get back in the race. Nakagami just seems to make these kind of unforced errors. You hear what Marquez did, waited until the tyre dropped off and then got into it slowly but surely. Sometimes a bit of discretion early on. And you've seen it so many times at COTA where somebody makes that mistake early on and that's their race done. Even Marquez, the last time we were there, fell over at the top of the hill, didn't he? And couldn't restart. It's even he can make that kind of mistake on that kind of track. And Nakagami, again, I feel sorry for him, but I don't. It's his job. This is what he does. He should have this sorted out. He's obviously got pace, and he's not capitalizing on that pace, which manufacturers will put up with for a little while because, finding a fast guy that can run the times is quite hard. But if that guy never, converts those into actual podiums and race wins, then eventually they will let him go, whatever his nationality and whatever his embeddedness in the team.
Yeah, I've got a big thing written down on my notes here, which says what happened to, and one of the names is Miguel Oliveira. And what has happened to him over the last? I know we've had this conversation before. Perhaps it is family life, perhaps it's something else as well that's all playing a part here. But actually, 11th is not too bad considering Brad Binder was in 9th. But he looked like nowhere in qualifying compared, and this is sort of a run of poor form when Oliveira was on top of his game not too long ago.
Being in MotoGP is bloody hard work. The travel, the stress, the pressure of what's going on behind the scenes, traveling in the manner that they're traveling at the moment. And eventually it brings you down. When you get to a racetrack, you get there on a Wednesday, you do your bits and pieces with your team and your PR. Thursday is the press conference. You're doing more stuff all the time. Friday, free practice. You're qualifying for qualifying, as it is now with the system as it is. Qualifying on Saturday. You're worried about setup. By the time you get to Sunday, you're knackered. Absolutely knackered. The day you need to be on the top performance, you are at your worst physically. You've been sweating about it for the last 4 days. You're out of your time zone as well. I know it's only 5 hours difference, in Texas, 5 or 6, isn't it? And it's really hard work. So when you get to your race, you're probably at your worst form. And this time of the year's running out. If your performance levels are slipping and you're already looking to next year, and that's a bad mistake to make because every lap you turn at this level, you have got to perfect. You have got to get better. You have got to try and make every lap count. Every time you cock your leg over that bike, you've got to look at an improvement in some way, shape or form, or gathering data that's going to improve the next time you're on it. There are no time. You don't get no time off. You don't get a time where you can afford to be slack, where you can let your mind drift. You've got to be on it all of the time. We talk about mental health quite often here, don't we? Because it is an in vogue sort of situation. Not that it's never been, but now everybody talks about it. And your mental health situation affects your performance. How are you feeling? Are you a bit down in the dumps because you're not pulling the times? You've got to get over all this stuff. This is what makes people like Marquez unbelievably. I got trolled when I said, I can't remember what I said now on Twitter, but anyway, you can look it up on my timeline if you want to. But I was just so impressed. So impressed that he did what he did. And then somebody says, I'm a brown nose. What kind of idiot would actually write that? Who could not be impressed with what Marquez just did? If you're not impressed by what he just did, then forget it. Go and watch badminton or something. I don't understand it. I really don't. Marquez is a remarkable human being. He has an injury that would have finished anyone else. I don't know anyone else that would have got through what he's got through to get back to where he is now on a motorbike that's a bit of an animal. I mean, God help us all next year if that Honda is anything like good, and Marquez is sort of 95% fit. Watch out, everyone else. It's going to be a difficult year in 2022 for you.
It certainly will be, won't it?
I think also just on Oliveira, I think it was almost that false dawn where they bought that new chassis and they had that great run just before the summer break, and Oliveira won in Barcelona and everything was looking great. But I think they're starting to think now we've seen some more chassis updates, and I think that's because the first signs were probably the Red Bull Ring, where they had a really great run last year and obviously won their first race, and they sort of didn't have a great weekend this time. And I think it sort of was the first sign that, hang on, maybe this chassis that looks so good just before the summer break, maybe it's not sort of the silver bullet that we thought it was. And so they've now started doing some more tweaks to the bike. So I think combined with everything else, Oliveira had that sort of awkward fall at the Red Bull Ring and a bit of an injury. And then, they're still trying to get the bike working. It looks like it looked like they'd done so well to turn around a really tough weekend in Qatar into a race-winning bike by Barcelona. But it seems like it wasn't, let's say, consistently fast, and they're still looking for something. So it's a tough season really for KTM. They have won that race, but I think after last year, we all thought they would continue that trajectory, if you like, in which case they would have been fighting for the championship this year. It hasn't worked out that way, and I think they're going to have to sort of reset. And has the loss of concessions also been a big issue for them? They've had to, they said it wouldn't be, but it's certainly that's something that's changed this year, hasn't it? But yeah, I think they're going to have to maybe look at all aspects of their project and analyze where things have sort of gone astray this year, because the upward rise has certainly sort of flattened off a bit, hasn't it?
Clever people at KTM, though, and they've got a lot of really good staff there. I'm pretty confident that they'll turn it. That's the combination, isn't it? I mean, you quite often think to yourself, is it the bike? Is it the rider? What's the combination of what? It's such a moving target. The goalposts all the time are just shifting backwards and forwards. It's like if we go to World Superbikes at the moment, which is having a renaissance, isn't it? This year is absolutely brilliant, World Superbikes. Jonathan Rea got penalised basically because he was so good. Kawasaki loses revs because Jonathan was making that bike look better. And now everyone's screaming and shouting, wanting the Yamaha to get penalised because Top Rack is making it look so good. You can't penalise riders for being good. And this is where it's so tricky, in that if you manipulate the rules to try and flatten the curve, if you try and manipulate the rules to try and give us close racing all of the time, you can't penalise riders for being a cut above. So it remains to be seen where KTM managed to come back, what they will have once we've got this. Well, again, I said it before, we only have a limited amount of testing. There might be a whole load of new innovations that come in our way by the time we start next year. But once we get to Qatar, that's it. That's your cut-off point. If you've not found something immediately in those tests, you run what you brung from Qatar onwards, because it's sealed. The engines are sealed at that point under the current rules, unless there's any changes in 22 towards that. And Dorna and IRTA and the manufacturers will be, perhaps they will manipulate them. Maybe they will allow a longer period of testing into the season, which would seem prudent to me, in that, okay, we haven't got a lot of testing, so allow concessions for everybody until we get to rounds 3 or 4 or something. So there's a little more time for that transition period after we've had the block of technical changes. Allow them a little longer to transit all those ideas, all those new innovations into the year, instead of relying on test sessions that might be wet, might be cold, might not give us what we want to test the new bits and pieces. Because if we have it under the current situation, we get to Qatar, that's the point at which you can only use what you can only use if you haven't got concessions.
The other problem with the testing is that one of those tests is at the new Indonesian track, isn't it? So you've got to learn a brand new track.
Got no data.
Yeah, and at the same time try and make decisions on engines, chassis, everything else. So, I mean, and that's one of only 2 tests next year, as you say. Very little testing as there is, and you're going to have all these unknown factors of a brand new circuit at one of those tests.
Yeah, well, certainly all the teams and drivers looking at that and trying to plan for that. At the moment, KTM's Oliveira's 10th in the standings and Binder is 6th. I'll tell you who he's behind, though. He's behind the man who, in the first half of the year, was the only man challenging Quartararo, and Johann Zarco, 5th in the standings, but retired from the race. And he is the other man on my list. And I know he's had the arm pump issues as well. He's had the surgery, but again, another retirement for him. It's just this is a nightmare end of the season, isn't it, for Zarco?
Was it ever going to be any other way with Zarco? He's an unusual character. He's not your normal racer, if there is a normal thing. Normal racer, I suppose there is one, actually, thinking about that. They're all mad. But the point being is that Zarco was never a man that I would put money on for a season. Comes up with something brilliant. He's a great rider, no doubt. In MotoGP, this is. Just looks like he has just got that kind of too many unforced errors. We saw it with KTM. He bailed out of KTM. You know, he's made a few unforced errors here and there. You think, why did that happen? Why did he, what happened there? And I don't know about Zarco. I think he's one of those ones that there's such a lot going on north of the eyebrows that you wonder whether he's just a little bit too intelligent for some of these things. And I suppose there is such a thing in some riders, but I don't know. I think that Zarco, again, COTA, mistake for him, and it took him out of a possible point scoring situation. You would have thought he would have scored good points at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, I mean, Zarco actually cancelled his media debrief, so that shows what sort of, how frustrated and disappointed he was. As you say, Keith, it was, from what we see on the press release, a very short quote of "my mistake," very disappointed. The good news was that he seemed to be a lot better after this arm pump surgery, certainly going into the race. We don't know, as I say, we didn't get to speak to him after the race, so I don't know what state he was in with his arm during the race. But yeah, where is he? He's 5th in the World Championship. I mean, the trouble is he has such a great start to the year that obviously, with all those podiums, I mean, the one thing we can say is it's not over yet. I mean, he's 5th in the championship. If he what's the best a Pramac Ducati rider has ever been, I think, is Jack Miller in 7th. So he has a chance to be, the highest placed Pramac Ducati rider in the championship so far, let's say. So that's something that's still within his grasp. Obviously, his rookie teammate has won a race. That's going to hurt, isn't it? Because Zarco, for all the podiums that he's had on several different brands of bike, he hasn't won a race yet. And from the start of the year, we thought it was just a matter of time, didn't we? But now you'd have to say the way things have gone, it's going to be looking like 2022 when he tries to get that win. So, yeah, it's not over yet, but he needs to turn it around because he's dropping down the table. And, what is he now? Brad Binder 10 points behind. I mean, with 3 races to go, it's going to be close to see if he can stay in that top 6 and get that, best Pramac, if you like.
He definitely starts a year well. You go back to Tech 3. I mean, that first time in Qatar where it looked like he could win the race. I mean, it's a situation where, he starts off well, but I think, does it come under the same heading as what I went to a moment ago with the fact is a season is a long and wearing process. It's a hard process to work through. You've got to be a tough individual to get from one end of it to the other, not just the physical wounds that you pick up during the course of it, but the mental ones as well. It's a hard game. Any sport, top line sport is going to be tough mentally. And Zarco just seems to have that slight fragility for me that we see, and it percolates into mistakes here and there. And I'd love to see him do a backflip in MotoGP. It's long overdue. I mean, I used to enjoy that kind of celebrations he had in Moto2. He was imperious, but he hasn't been able to quite make that work in MotoGP yet, and I'm not sure he will.
Well, it'll be another interesting story to watch how that one ends for this season. But at the end of all that, it was Marc Marquez who took his 7th win at the Circuit of the Americas. What has that done to the standings? Well, Fabio Quartararo is still leading, 254 points to his name. Now 52 points ahead of Bagnaia with 202. And it's Joan Mir now in 3rd with 175. So really, Bagnaia needed to finish ahead of Quartararo, I think, to really make a huge dent in the championship challenge there. But we'll come back to that a little bit later on because I want to move on now to Moto2, if I may. And it was Raul Fernandez on pole, looking for 3 victories on the trot. And that is what he got because Remy Gardner, his teammate alongside him, slid out. An uncharacteristic error, perhaps, from Gardner saw him retire from, I think, the only race this year that he's done that for. And also great results as well in the top 5 for Cameron Beaubier on home soil too. Keith, what did you make of the Moto2 action?
Unfortunate for Remy, because this was an opportunity with 3 rounds left to go. It was an opportunity really to, put his stamp on it. What it's done now is given us a great Moto2 end of season 3-round shootout, really, because it's closed down to 9 points or something, I seem to remember. Raul Fernandez is on some form. If he hadn't had that, blip, I think 4 rounds ago, he would have had 4 or 5 wins on the trot. That starts to wear you down when that happens. Danny Kent, if you go back to Moto3, Danny Kent, 2015, when he won the Moto3 World Championship, the British rider, he absolutely slaughtered everybody in the first half of the season. We had the summer break, came back, and all of a sudden, he couldn't put a foot right. And we got to the end of the season, he won the world title. But I tell you what, we were all biting our nails, and I hope that's not going to happen to Remy. I don't think it will, because I think Remy he's pretty cool, isn't he, Remy Gardner now? He's got pace, he's smart about the way he goes about his job. Raul Fernandez is a real weapon, and he's going to have to fight for it. And it's who makes the least mistakes. They're both really fast, but would you bet on Raul to make the most mistakes in the final 3 rounds or Remy? It's going to be a close call. I've got a feeling that Remy is not in a good position now. He might have a lead, a small one, but with the pressure that Fernandez is putting on him, it's going to be how he keeps his head together and how many mistakes he makes between now and Valencia.
And of course, the next 2 races, they're repeat tracks, if you like, from earlier in the year. And guess which rider won at both of those tracks?
The answer is...
I think he's saying... Big fan of the number 25, yeah.
The stray.
I wonder where your dog had gone, Pete.
Yeah. He's having a good time by the sound of it. Anyway, yeah, I can't see it.
I reckon Mum must have just come home.
I don't know. He's angry at something.
He's not happy with how the Moto2 championship.
That's what it was. Now. Yeah, he's not. Maybe he's a Remy fan. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it. To be fair,
either that or there's a dirty great python that's just slid in under the shed.
Worry me now.
Podcast comes first, above pythons. But you were saying, Pete, sorry, carry on.
So obviously the next 2 tracks, they're both circuits where Raul won previously. So he's got that psychologically in his head that he's beaten Remy on these tracks already. Remy needs to sort of reset now, doesn't he? And just sort of forget everything that's been before, not dwell on the fact that this lead has gone, and just look at it from the point of view of he's got a 9-point advantage and it's a 3-race championship. And you just take it like that, isn't it? And I think that's the only way you can look at it. Everyone makes one mistake during a year, don't they? I mean, this is the only non-score he's had. Raul's had 2 already, I think. So, he shouldn't be too hard on himself. But as Keith said, it's just really unfortunate timing, isn't it? Because we were saying previously, who's going to blink first with this? Will it be Raul? Will it be Remy? Something was going to happen because the pressure was building with them both always first and second and challenging. And, and now we see... Remy's made this small mistake, so now let's see what happens. But fantastic end to the season for all neutral fans, shall we say.
He'll want to move on to MotoGP as world champion, that's for sure. Yeah, that's the key here. It's something you can't go back over. This is not, you can't redo the exam. It's there now. He's got to grab it now. He's got the hereditary going him, I'm sure. Bit of Wayne Gardner, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
But on Fernandez, we should say, I think he's equalled Marquez's rookie season, hasn't he?
He has already, 7
and of course,
wins.
Marquez didn't win the title in his rookie season. So if he, that on Fernandez's side, that's a chance for him to do something exceptional there. Mark had that injury at Sepang, of course, and couldn't, he had to sort of withdraw from Valencia in the end. And Stefan Bradl, who is now his test rider, got the title. But yeah, so if Raul can do that as a rookie, that will be quite something. So whichever one of them wins, it's going to be... quite a milestone, should we say?
Certainly will be. He does equal Marquez's record. And with that, the gap is closed to 9 points. And also, who had a good run? The American racing team on home soil. If we just go to the places just outside of the podium. Cameron Beaubier was, challenging for a podium position in the early stages and fell down to 5th in the end. But a good run for the American, and good for MotoGP and Moto2 to have an American in the Moto2 grid and scoring well on home soil.